Bookaholics is a safe place for reading junkies who obsess over books, authors, bookstores, book news, and book trivia. We'll nerd out with book reviews, author interviews, our habit, and other bookish things. Here is your host, Deirdre Pippins.
Hello, Kirsten. Welcome to the Bookaholic Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So today, I guess we could categorize your particular interview under our writer's workshop because you're going to give us some more insight about a publishing company and maybe even help us break down some definitions. I think we throw out certain words, indie, hybrid, the big five. We throw out different definitions, and I think people kind of catch them, but maybe not have a full definition of publishing. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But first, let's start with the fact that you purchased a publishing company. So before we go into that, what did you do before?
I was the CFO of a large hospital.
Okay.
Officer. So my background is in finance and accounting, but my undergrad is in English literature.
Got you. Okay, got you. Because that would be kind of hard for people to see. How did you go from being a hospital administrator all the way over to publishing? So when did all of this happen? Purchasing the publishing company, what is it, something that you considered a second act? Did something happen in your life to where you said, hey, I want to do something for me, have my own business? What happened?
Well, I had left the publishing, the hospital several years before because my husband was transferred overseas. And we tried the commute route for a while when the kids were still at home, but when they were all in university, we said this isn't sustainable. So I left my work and joined him overseas.
Oh, okay. So was he just in corporate or armed forces?
Corporate.
Okay.
Mining.
Got you.
We've lived in some interesting countries.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Mining is not necessarily glamorous. So yeah, when you say interesting, I can only think of, I don't know, maybe some out of the way places.
Yes. I think that's a whole other interview.
Yes, definitely. But so you did that, but still, how did you get around to publishing?
Well, I had decided during that enforced break from my regular career to do what I always wanted, which was to write. And through that, I made a writing buddy friend, and we did some projects for her together. And then she contacted me in 2017 and said, I started this publishing company, but her background was in editorial and production.
Okay.
Zero business background.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hard enough to run a publishing company when you do understand business, let me tell you. So I joined her, and then a year later, she decided she wanted to move on to different adventures. So I just took over the company at that point. So that was end of 2018, I'd say.
Okay.
And so 18, 19, and then COVID hit.
Oh, right. And forget that in the timeline.
But, we were an infant of a company, and we still survived, and I'm very proud of that.
Yes, most definitely. A lot of companies did not make it through COVID. So yeah, definitely thumbs up for that. Now, your company is called Commandeer Publishing.
Press. Commandeer Press.
Commandeer Press. And I have had the fortune of interviewing one of your authors of Commandeer Press. But Commandeer, that's kind of a play on words. So why did you name it Commandeer Press? Deer as in the animal.
Well, it's a straight up dad joke because it is just a play on words.
Okay.
And and my former partner who started the company chose it, and I thought this really makes us kind of unique. So I kept it. I built the brand around the original word.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Got you.
But
Okay.
I do get lots of comments on it, which is great because that means it sticks in people's minds.
Exactly, most definitely. And that's how when I was speaking to you on the pre-call and I saw, Commandeer Press, and I was like, well, wait a minute, I've interviewed someone from that. And so you're right, it sticks in one's mind, especially those of us who like words,
We're
you know,
all about the word.
words. Now, somebody else might not catch it, but those of us who like words, we zero in on that kind of thing. So from 2017, 18, and going through the pandemic, one of the things that you say is that you publish children's books. So that's a hard and fast rule that Commandeer Press only publishes children's books, correct?
Correct. Originally, my former partner was trying to do a little bit of everything, but when you're new and small,
Mhm.
you do have to focus on one
Yes.
area. Otherwise you're just too scattered. You have one book here, one
Right.
book there, and nobody knows what you stand for.
Right.
So
Exactly. Exactly.
in 2019, I made the excuse me, I made the decision to focus on Kidlit because it is my favorite. It's my
Yeah.
hands down favorite from, of course, being a child myself and
Right.
my love of reading growing up and then having children. And now there are another generation of little people. So
Yeah.
we decided Kidlit, basically from early reader chapter books. So the sort of
Mhm.
5 to 8 year olds
Mhm.
through
Mhm.
to young adult, which is 14 to 18. So we do early reader, middle grade, and YA.
Got you. Got you. Well, definitely that's very focused because, I question all of the authors that I interview, all of the authors that I've interviewed, and some of them, those that just have a debut book, but those who have written multiple books, a lot of them have skipped around, and I don't understand how they can even do that. I think if I were a writer and so compelled, to do so, I'd probably write historical fiction and stick with that. I just don't understand how people can bounce back and forth. Now, I could see writing a nonfiction about a historical figure, but still history is the common denominator. So definitely, I think that's a strong suit for you to focus on children's literature. Who is your biggest competitor as far as children's lit?
Well, obviously the big five, uh,
Right.
but there are a lot of independent presses that
Mhm.
do children's literature. There's probably 5 or 6 in Canada that we would consider our closest competitors.
Mhm.
Orca, Pajama Press, Anik Press,
Got you. Got you. Got
Rainier,
you.
sort of the top ones. Um, I'm not so familiar with the American indies. I mean, obviously we have American distribution, but the
Mhm.
sales team there handles that. So
Got
yeah.
you. Got you. And how big is your team?
We have 5 core members and then subcontractors that we
Got
use.
you.
But we
Got you.
use the same people over and over. The other
Right.
thing, we were talking about focusing on an area, and you said historical fiction. The
Mhm.
other thing we really love is series.
Yeah. Okay.
If you were writing historical fiction and you had a character that you took through a series,
Mhm. Mhm.
that A helps us develop the individual as an author,
Right.
helps us keep the backlist alive, but it also helps the author to build a loyal following.
Yes.
To your point about moving around from publishing a book here, a book there, nobody knows where to find you.
Yes, yes, and you know, I certainly don't want to be offensive in any way to authors that are on my channel, but I just don't understand how they can write one type of book. I mean, totally, I mean, opposite science fiction over here, and then say a romance to on the other side. You know, not a romance taking place in science fiction, but just a whole nother romance. So it could be very confusing. And I think that you're definitely going down the right path of this type of concentration and focus. So you do, though, within the children's lit, cover all aspects of genres for the kids, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we're now starting to look for nonfiction in
Mm.
Kids Lit as well.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, all the different genres: time travel, historical, sci-fi, fantasy. We love a focus on STEM, science, technology,
Oh, yeah.
engineering,
Yeah.
math. In fact,
Yeah.
our most popular series is the Math Kids,
Yeah.
David Cole, who you met.
Exactly.
And it also allows us to pitch more appropriately to schools and libraries if we can show curriculum tie-ins for a book.
Yes.
They
Oh,
also came
yes.
to me with a pitch and said, I have this book, and not only is it a fantastic story, but it knocks these three curriculum points
Right.
apart.
Right. And I can see that. I can see that. And since here in the States, are you in Canada?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Here in the States, that's been something that really has exploded over the last, say, 10 years. Even when my sons were still in school, the whole STEM aspect, and especially going for young girls, because it used to be when I was growing up, oh, girls, we hate math. Girls hate math and
What's
science.
that all about? But I find that kids love leaving a book thinking, I learned some cool stuff. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a great story, but did you know that in this,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
um, the
Yes.
kids
Yes.
are little sponges. They love learning.
Most definitely. Look, listen to this. Could you link that to when I was growing up? We always used to love to go to the library to open up Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Can you believe it?
And you'd find out all this really wacky, interesting
Yeah.
stuff. So, but anyway, yes, I can see that definitely. So yeah, you spoke of Dave Cole, who, like you said, I've met in an interview, the Math Kids series, and which seems fantastic. Who's another profile author under Commandeer Press?
Oh, Carolyn Fernandez.
Okay.
We have done one picture book series, and it's
Hmm.
The Adventures of Grammosaurus. And she wrote that, and Shannon O'Toole, who also illustrated David's books, illustrated these picture books.
Okay.
The only reason we're moving away from picture books is right now it's prohibitively expensive to produce color print picture books
Yeah.
for us, for our
Yeah.
size. It
Yeah.
used to be that we could get the printing done in China, and it
Hmm.
was reasonable. Shipping
Hmm.
costs, supply chain.
Right.
China's zero COVID policy. It's impossible now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyhow, Carolyn Fernandez, The Adventures of Grammosaurus series, which
Mhm.
is obviously about dinosaurs, but
Right.
it's also the first one set in a museum, and
Okay.
it's a grandma who goes on school trips with her two grandchildren,
Mhm.
and at very inappropriate times turns into different dinosaurs. And yes, and then the kids have to find her and tell her how to behave in the
Oh
museum.
my gosh. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness. Oh, that seems hilarious.
it's
Very
pretty good.
hilarious.
The second one is at the Aquarium Rescue Center. So that's about marine um, dinosaurs, reptiles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Third one's at the supermarket, and the fourth one's at the airport. The other series she has just started writing for us is an early reader
Okay.
series. I
Okay.
think this is a really important gap to fill for kids between when they're reading picture books and when they're ready to move up to middle grade books,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
giving them really meaty content that's age appropriate. So
Right.
it's the Asha and Baz series. It's a time travel series.
Oh, I love time travel.
Yep, but it's these two kids, Asha and Baz, are given school projects, and
Okay.
when they have trouble, accomplishing them,
Mhm.
they find a magic stick and they travel back in time, and they meet an appropriate woman, scientist, mathematician, cryptologist, whatever, who can help them with their problem, and
Oh,
whose work still resonates today.
okay. Okay.
So the first one's about Mary Sherman Morgan,
Okay.
who discovered the formula for iodine, which got
Mhm.
the US into the space race.
Right. Got you.
The
Got you.
second one is about Hedy Lamarr and
Yes.
frequency hopping, which is the foundation of Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, everything.
Right.
So it has to resonate with modern living.
Right. Right. That's very interesting. I
Yeah.
like that tie-in to a real person in the
Mhm.
past. That's very interesting. Sounds great. Now, so you started this company. So, I mean, what gave you the courage? I mean, you and once you got past, I guess once you got past COVID, then you and survived that, then you were really just like, okay.
Yeah, and we didn't overextend during COVID. We kept our list really small, and we're now just starting to, release more and more titles each season. But
Mhm.
we're still going to be really selective and
Right.
keep it small because I don't want to go back to a full-time job.
Got you. Got you.
You
Got you.
know, and I don't want to do that to the people who work with me.
Right.
So
Right. Right. Right.
we're going to focus on producing high quality, high
Mhm.
content books
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
that we love and are proud of.
Most definitely. Now, do you do audiobooks for children books?
Not yet.
Okay.
And I say not yet because it's something in the cards, um,
Mhm.
but maybe a year or two out.
Got you. Got
Yeah.
you. Got you. Yeah, I thought maybe for chapter books or stuff that you might do that maybe in the future. That would be very interesting and how that's received as well. Now, let me just think about what I was going to say. Um, for those who are writers
Mhm.
and are interested in, they're writing children's books and they're interested in being published. And I know you want to keep your roster small, but what would your company be looking for in an author? What would they have to supply to you in order to be selected for your publishing house?
Well, we're certainly interested in a more diverse author
Mhm,
roster. Authors who come from different backgrounds, who bring different voices,
mhm,
different experience, different abilities.
mhm, mhm,
So from an author point of view, we would love to encourage anybody to submit.
Mm-hmm.
regardless of background in
Right.
whatever area. We don't
Right.
care. We just want good books.
Right.
Uh,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
we are willing to support people who have historically not had a strong voice
Mm-hmm.
in the book market. So that's from the author perspective, and it is helpful if the person is prepared to share. If they say, I wrote this book because it has meaning to me, my community, my background,
Right.
whatever. They want to give us some of this information, but by no means would we judge somebody for
Right.
just wanting to give us initials. I mean, that's fine too.
Right.
Um, from content perspective, again, we already talked about loving any sort of school curriculum tie-in that can be
Right.
included. Uh, we're willing to look at all genres in children's literature. And yeah, if you have a good nonfiction book for kids, send it my way. I'll take a look at it.
When as you say that, it reminds me of two sets of books that I used to see when my sons were younger. And this first one we bought religiously, The Magic Treehouse.
Yes.
Oh, we must have had every book in the series up until my son was ready to let those go. I mean, we bought those constantly, 5 and 6 at a time.
Yep. Yep. And that's why publishing series is a great idea. So
Yeah.
I'll give you bonus points for telling me that it's the beginning of a series.
Yeah.
But our submissions page on our website um, is very comprehensive and gives
Right.
lots of tips as to how to submit.
Okay. Okay. And you are open for submissions, correct?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Oh, and the other series was called, I can't remember the actual name of the series, but it was always focused on a historical person. Say, like, who was Albert Einstein or
Mhm.
who is Barack Obama? And they were thin, but I will tell you about those books. And we'd always buy them during the school book fair. The one with Albert Einstein, I read through it and it helped me to really understand the theory of relativity for real, not outside of the E equals MC square that I would be learning in a class. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? I
Mhm.
really
Mhm.
got it when I finally read that book and I was a complete adult. So I mean, they were very informative.
Yep. No, there's no reason why kids' books, in fact, the best children's literature appeals just as much to adults.
Yes, most definitely.
It's
I have
these
my share of YA books.
Yep. You think of the Harry Potter series.
Mhm,
How many
mhm.
adults slammed through that series? His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, Twilight, which
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Hunger Games.
Yes, yes. Is there the inheritance games? Is that too YA? I believe. And I think that's
Probably,
pretty popular
probably.
as well. I think so. But yeah, so most definitely, again, that all goes back to I love everything books. Now let's talk to our continuing talking to our writers and prospective writers and the ones that's hiding the fact that they are writers and struggling writers and but they might not have the true definition. So we talk about the big five. So we're going to have you name the big five publishers.
Hmm. Simon and Schuster, Random House, Knopf, um, Harp, HarperCollins,
HarperCollins, yeah.
um, Penguin.
Penguin. Yes, yes, yes. All very, very huge and well known. But through doing this podcast, one of the things I try to promote is the fact that, say, for an example, to take a person, James Patterson, these people have all kinds of marketing and push behind them. That does not mean that he is the best writer just because he's on the New York Times list all the time. But there's so many other writers out there, and that's what I like to try to focus on and bring to people's attention. There's so many writers out there, and they're really good writers out there. And you open up the New York Times or go online to see the New York Times book review, and it's the same people on there.
Mhm.
And I used to think that that was gold, but it's not.
No. And to your point, people like James Patterson have a machine behind them.
Yes, he just turns them out.
Yeah. And he's got a whole raft of people who basically write for him now. So
He pulls in stars, Dolly Parton, Bill
yeah, Hillary
Clinton.
Clinton, Bill Clinton. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, I think what we call closet writer
Mhm.
um, should remember is you're not competing with them.
Right.
You are not competing with them. The
Okay.
average book sells 250 copies
Oh,
in its lifetime.
wow.
So, what we're talking about is James Patterson is who's the biggest movie star you can think of?
Well, I guess Tom Cruise, The Rock.
Okay, so he is the Tom Cruise of publishing.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
there are still many, 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 many actors who
Yes,
make a decent living,
yes,
and who are proud of their craft. So the
yes.
important thing for any writer to remember is, am I writing the best book I can?
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Exactly, exactly.
And quality tends to rise
True.
because books, for the most part, sell by word of mouth.
Mhm, exactly.
If you're not on the New York Times list, you are selling by word of mouth.
Right, right, exactly.
So, and reviews.
Yes.
Reviews on
Yes.
Goodreads, Amazon, wherever,
Right, right,
magazines.
right,
So just focus on im improving your writing 1% at a time, 1%
right,
at
right.
a time. Uh,
Yes.
don't try and hit it out of the ballpark.
Right, right, right. I think a lot of people just get frozen, if you will, and they're not willing to. I just think a lot of people really get frozen with writing. So, for various reasons. Again, I think to your point, I think a lot of people do compare themselves to these other people and want to be like them, and that messes them up, to use some words, to some degree, of comparing themselves to others.
Okay, so this brings me to another point about the whole publishing process. What they
Mhm.
are seeing when they open a book is a book that has been through at least 3, probably 6 rounds of editing.
Okay.
It's been through developmental edit. It's
Mm,
been through a copy edit, and it's
right,
been through a proofreading.
right.
And I know from my own experience of being on the other side, I've been an editor and I've been an author. It is completely different sitting in the
Yeah.
author's chair and getting your 11-page editorial letter. So what you send in, what is accepted,
Mhm.
is not what's going to show up on the bookshelf.
Right, right, right,
A
right.
good editor will help you to take your writing a quantum leap.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So what you see James Patterson on the shelf is not what James Patterson handed in.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, how do you all help people? What do you do with the marketing and promotion of books on your end?
Whew, that's a whole area. We
Give us
have,
the quick notes.
yep, our distribution through a major distributor and through sales teams. So
Okay.
we work through the distributor and the sales teams. We provide them with marketing materials like catalogs, like sell sheets,
Mm-hmm.
and they go out and rep us to the wholesalers, the libraries, the major booksellers, some of the indies,
Mm-hmm.
and that's that side of it.
Right.
On our end, in-house, we are active on social media,
Mm-hmm.
um, from Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok now.
Right. Right. Got
Um,
that.
we submit our books for book awards, and a
Oh,
number of
right.
our books have won or been shortlisted for book awards. We submit our books to the major reviewers like Kirkus and
Yes.
School Library Journal. And
Mm-hmm.
so we get quality reviews from quality reviewers, review sites.
Right.
And
Right.
that's used in our marketing materials, but also those are published. So, yeah, our book might not be in the New York Times, but it's in Kirkus or
Right.
Publishers Weekly, or so it's still being recognized as a quality book.
Right. 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 I received the Kirkus review. And definitely, yeah. I mean, it's like the Bible of reviews.
Yep, that for kids' books in the States, Kirkus, School Library Journal, and PW, Publishers Weekly, I would say, would
Yes.
be the and forward reviews. Those
Mhm.
four we have established good relationships with.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
so much of life, business, everything is relationships.
Yes.
We
Most
take
definitely.
time to say thank you.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
goes a long way.
It certainly does. You can't beat old school old
You
school
can. You
men.
can. Please, thank you. I appreciated that.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Now, indie publishers. Okay, so self-publishing. What do you think about self-publishing?
Um, it no longer has the stigma that it had. It
Mhm.
absolutely is just fine
Mhm.
because so many voices deserve being heard.
Yes.
And often when you can't get a publishing contract, it's not because your book isn't any good.
Right.
And I want your listening, aspiring writers to remember this. It's because it doesn't fit the publisher's current list. They've
Mhm.
recently published something similar, or
Right.
will actively cannibalize another title on their list.
Right. Right. Right.
Um,
Exactly.
those would be three non-content reasons for saying, I'm sorry, we don't have a place for this.
Mhm. And people don't understand that.
No, which is why I'm making a point of it,
Mhm.
because it's really worthwhile then to consider self-publishing.
Mhm.
And there are organizations that are really helpful
Okay.
for people to learn more about the publishing process, about
Yes.
self-publishing, to be able to join for a I'm thinking of the Independent Book Publishers Association in the
Mhm.
United States, for
Okay.
example. they offer lots of webinars and content on their site about different aspects of publishing that can help
Mhm.
make the self-publishing process go smoothly and um, successfully.
Yes.
Another one is reedsy.com,
Okay.
reedsy.com.
Okay. Okay.
Huge amount of content for
Wow.
writers,
Oh, wow. That's very important to know and to
in-
hear.
including a huge database of freelance editors.
Oh,
Yeah, and designers, book designers, that the professionals you need to produce a professional result.
right, right, right. And that's like you said read see?
Yeah, reedsy.com.
Perfect. 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 I'm looking for people who do the book designs. I'd like to interview a lot more people that do book design because I do sometimes judge a book by its cover.
Oh, always, always. And so I would encourage anybody contemplating self-publishing to
Hmm.
not just do stock covers.
Right.
Um, yes, investing in your book is sometimes spending money that you may or may not get back. But
Right.
you want a product you're proud of? Yes. Will a good book cover give you the best chance of success? Yes.
Yes.
The
Most
other
definitely.
thing is, for the love of God,
Oh,
get
no.
or whoever you light candles to, um, get it edited.
Yes.
Okay.
Most
Uh,
definitely.
yes, having your aunt and your sister read it is really helpful in the early stages. No, I'm being serious.
Yes.
But get a professional editor um, to at least give it a once over and give you review notes on it.
Yes. Most definitely. Most definitely. To give you the best chance for success. Definitely.
Exactly. Exactly.
Ugh, wow, wow. There's so much to unpack. But we certainly will have information in the podcast show notes and in the YouTube channel description that can help out our struggling writers or budding writers or those who may just be curious. Now, so what does Commandeer Press have going on for this last quarter of 2022? Any big book debuts or more series coming out?
Yeah. Well, this is the quarter we're debuting the new early chapter book series, Asha and Baz.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And another Math Kids.
Oh, okay.
Number 7.
Wow.
Number 7.
Wow.
And the second book in a YA series called the Tempest Trilogy. It's sci-fi time travel.
Yes.
So those are the 3 books that we are um, launching into the world,
Okay. Okay.
as well as always, always, always supporting our backlist. Um, 12 of our books are being taken by our translation rights agency that we work with.
Mhm.
That's another thing we do for our authors. We have a translation rights agency, and they pitch our books worldwide.
Mhm.
And the Frankfurt Book Fair is in October. It's the largest book fair in the world.
Oh,
It
wow.
is massive. And
Wow.
this is the first time since 2019 it has been full on. So expecting a lot of activity.
Yes, I think that happened just about in every pocket of society. This year was kind of like the release year. Everybody was getting back together and everything was flooded. So I can only imagine that will be a huge event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so good things.
Yes, this
Doing
sounds
fine.
great. And so when those books are ready now or just later, they'll be ready.
Asha and Baz and Faded Glimpses of Time are, they launched September 1st. The Math
Okay.
Kids launches October 1st.
Oh, just around the corner. So by
Yeah.
the time this interview is released, all of those will be available, and we'll have links to those books in our show notes and our descriptions as well, and your website. So any websites that was mentioned here on this interview, the Commandeer website and books will be linked in the podcast show notes and in the description box on our YouTube channel. Well, Kirsten Marion, we certainly appreciate you joining the Bookaholic podcast today. You brought us a lot of great information.
Well, thank you. It was a fun chat. I love talking books. So
Yes, I love talking them, eating, reading them, smelling them, all kinds. Well, thank you so much, and good luck to you. It's a great thing you're doing.
Thanks, Deirdre.
Thank you.